You probably know who this guy is, Eddie Hall, well known for being quite strong and driving around in a massive tank. In this video I'm going to dive into how Eddie Hall trained and ate when preparing for strongman competitions. Then we'll see what we can take from this and apply it to our own training and our own diet. Eddie Hall has had all of these achievements, so it's evident he knows what he's doing and what he's talking about. Let's begin by talking about Eddie Hall's diet while he was training for strongman. As you can probably imagine, Eddie's dietary requirements were off the charts. A typical day of eating for Eddie Hall in camp would have been a whopping 16,000 calories per day. Here's a look into what some of his daily meals would have looked like. At breakfast, he would have 4 sausages, 4 slices of bacon, 2 fried eggs, baked beans, 4 slices of fried bread, 2 slices of black pudding, plum tomatoes, orange juice and a litre of water. Then he'd have a second breakfast of oatmeal with milk, honey and raisins, 2 kiwis, 1 banana, some Nutella, 70 grams of beef jerky, and then 4 scoops of whey protein powder, as well as 150 grams of cashew nuts, 1 litre of cranberry juice and 1.5 litres of mineral water. And then for his lunch, which would be 300 grams of ribeye steak, more than a pound of pasta, 200 grams of vegetables, 1.5 litres of water and half of a family-sized cheesecake. And then a plate of tuna sandwiches, a box of butter flapjacks, some fruit and 2 energy drinks. Then whilst training, he would sometimes have mid-workout snacks where he'd have slices of roast beef and 4 scoops of protein powder. Then to dinner would be pasta, minced meat, garlic bread and the other half of the family-sized cheesecake. Then later on in the evening, he'd have a protein bar, 1.5 litres of water and a protein shake. And finally we're done. It goes without saying that eating even near this proportion of food is not safe at all for anyone. But due to Eddie's goals and consistent, intense training, he pushed himself dangerously close to his limits and sacrificed putting on a load of weight to gain as much strength as possible to do as well as he possibly could in these competitions. Now let's move on to his training. It is obvious that Eddie's focus was on strength and subsequently a bit on muscle mass. So that he could perform as well as possible on these events, he had to really practice with strongman specific lifts that just normal strength training wouldn't really prepare him for. Here are some examples of events he would have had to practice that he would compete with other strongmen to beat them at. In his training, he focused on keeping the reps low and do no more than around 6 reps per set, because this allowed him to lift around 80 to 90% of his maximum in order to help him gain as much strength as possible. In between sets, Eddie would take rest breaks to allow himself to properly recover. As you can imagine, if you're lifting several hundreds of weight, that this is really important. Additionally, he made sure to keep a couple of rest days every week. As well as doing recovery and physical therapy at home, he emphasized working on major muscle groups rather than smaller ones in order to build overall strength and power for these strongman competitions. And he made sure he was fiercely consistent in his training, never missing a meal, a workout or a recovery session. Now what would Eddie's week kind of look like when it came to training? On Monday he would very often have a chest day where he did a bench press, incline bench press, a dumbbell press, dumbbell flies, cross cable flies, chest presses and chest dips. On Tuesday was leg day where he'd do squats, deadlifts, leg presses, leg extensions, leg curls, stiff leg deadlifts, lunges, sitting and standing calf raises. Then on Wednesday he would do cardio, stretching and a light rest, which often included tire flipping, sled pushing and often swimming, which he actually competed in when he was younger. On Thursday it was back and arms where he'd do lat pull downs, machine rows, dumbbell rows, bicep and barbell curls, preacher curls, hammer curls, tricep push downs, tricep dips and extensions, and dumbbell kickbacks. And then on to his last training day of the week, on Fridays, he'd do his shoulders and his traps. He did dumbbell presses, front and lateral raises, shrugs, delt flies, rear delt raises, log press and Viking press, and then he would have 2 rest days on Saturday and Sunday. And I'm also assuming alongside all of these training days that he was also working a lot on practicing the strongman lifts. So what can we take away from Eddie's crazy diet and his strongman training? Even whilst consuming crazy calorie intakes, Eddie always ensured he consumed the right nutrients, like protein, fruits, veg, also probably supplements like creatine, BCAAs, vitamins, etc. to aid the fastest amount of progress whilst also aiding in his well-being. We can also take away the consistency and dedication. Eddie's success didn't just happen. It took years of consistent and dedicated training to reach the pinnacle of his sport. He must have made so many different sacrifices, maybe even giving up some of his family life to achieve this goal. Whether you're aiming for strength or building muscle or another goal, having even a half of his dedication and commitment to your goal is going to achieve results. And despite wanting to get ahead of all of his other strongmen competitors, he still recognised the importance of rest days and how a good couple of rest days might even get him further in the competitions than putting in more training sessions. But what if your focus is also on looking great too, and looking chiseled for summer? Well, watch this video right here. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button.